Let's take a second right now to have a moment of silence for Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson, who suggested that the WNBA as a whole should have been on the cover of Time magazine instead of just Caitlyn Clark, who graced the cover last week.
What do you get when you combine record-breaking stats, a Time magazine cover, and a whole lot of jealousy? Apparently, that's the byproduct of the Caitlyn Clark effect. But here's the real question: why is everyone so mad about her success? From Matt Barnes to Jim Jackson, big names in basketball have been speaking out, and oh boy, they didn't hold back. They're not just defending Clark, they're exposing a bigger issue in women's sports. Want to know what's really going on? Let's break it down.
Caitlyn has brought a ton of new opportunity, a ton of new eyeballs, and more money to the sport. So instead of downplaying the magnitude of who she is and what she's brought, enjoy the ride and take advantage of the ride.
Recognition should have been a slam dunk for women's basketball. After all, she was named Time's Athlete of the Year. But guess what?
Man, first of all, she's unbelievable talent. You know, the things that she's doing is great in her own right. She's creating her own space, she's doing her own thing.
Some folks aren't exactly popping champagne over this one. Picture this: a young star breaking records left and right. Landing a major magazine cover sounds like a win, right? Well, not everyone is cheering.
While the NBA's ratings continue to drop over 30%, as they try to figure out who is going to fill the shoes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, the WNBA has a golden goose sitting in their league and it's gotten better, but has done everything to kind of discredit the momentum and eyeballs she's brought to this game.
Instead of applause, Clark's getting some serious side-eye from unexpected places. What's the deal? Let's dive into the backlash, because this drama is juicier than a gossip mag at the hair salon. We're talking whispers of favoritism, cries of too soon, and even some salty comments from within the WNBA itself. Sheila Johnson, co-owner of...
It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen.
The Washington Mystics isn't holding back. She's saying the whole WNBA should have received the recognition, not just Clark. Talk about raining on someone's parade. Johnson doesn't stop there. She's worried that the spotlight on Clark might create bad blood in the league. She argues that when you keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. Ouch.
Over 31% of the Mystics' entire attendance was in 2 games the Caitlyn team played against the Mystics. The Sparks, the Aces, the Mystics, the Dream, all moved games when Fever came in town because of the attention that Caitlyn and her teammates have drawn that last season. Fever's jersey sales was up 1,000% and attendance was up 250%. And they had the largest attendance on average per year, just over 17,000 per game.
Can you imagine winning a huge award and having people say it should have gone to everyone else? Johnson says there are so many talented players of color who have never gotten the recognition they deserve. This isn't just Twitter noise, it's creating real consequences for both Clark and the league. Johnson is concerned about division and jealousy creeping into the WNBA. She even name-drops other talents like Angel Reese, saying that Reese, too, has been unrecognized despite her talent.
Let me say this, Caitlyn Clark deserves all the flowers. I think she took a lot of it and a lot of skeptics coming into the league, as she should. Like, she had to really prove herself. Missed out on the Olympic opportunity, and really had a lot of hard knocks early on in the season where she was getting beat up and her teammates were just watching her. I think the camaraderie in that locker room grew, and that team started playing together and made the playoffs, made a nice little run, and had a solid season.
So why are people so pressed about Clark's success? Turns out, it's more complicated than it seems, but don't worry, we're just getting started. Speaking of big names, let's hear what some heavy hitters in basketball have to say about all of this, because trust me, they're not holding back. Are you ready? Alright, picture this: Matt Barnes, an NBA champion and no stranger to stirring the pot, steps up to the mic, and boy, does he have some things to say about Caitlyn Clark and the WNBA. You know it's going.
So Caitlyn is someone who has, if you look at it, done everything you're supposed to do, and has been criticized along every step of the way. Again, she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't.
Going to be good when Barnes starts talking. Let's be real, Barnes isn't just defending Clark, he's putting the whole WNBA on blast. But why? Well, he's not mincing words. He's out here saying that Clark deserves all the flowers, that's right, all of them, and he's not stopping there. Barnes is calling out the skeptics who've been side-eyeing Clark since day one. But here's where it gets juicy. Barnes drops some reality. He's saying that the WNBA has
I think they're doing an amazing job with, like you said, telling the story. And the players are actually doing their thing when they get there,
yes,
too. You know, like you mentioned, these couple of players, but Caitlyn being the one that we're speaking about right now, she is kicking everybody's ass, really.
Golden Goose sitting right in their league, yet they've done everything to discredit the momentum and the attention Clark has brought to the game. Let's break down Barnes's argument. He's not just throwing shade for the sake of it.
When you see the people say it's not just her, there's other players, and again, we're not distracted. We understand that the depth of talent in that league, but when you also see the numbers that back up the fact that Caitlyn has a huge effect. Caitlyn Clark is responsible for nearly 27% of the WNBA's league-wide activity in 2024, including attendance. 1 in 6 tickets sold at the WNBA arena attributed to Caitlyn Clark. TV viewership was up 30%. TV viewership was up 300% with Caitlyn Clark.
He's talking about numbers, impact, and, yeah, a little bit of that locker room real talk. Barnes points out how Clark has been bringing in the fans and the buzz, but instead of capitalizing on that, he thinks the league is dropping the ball. You know what's really got Barnes fired up?
If we had to compare from what we've seen from the NBA, it would, in her effect, probably something similar to Larry Bird.
The criticism from Washington Mystics co-owner Sheila Johnson. Remember how she said the entire WNBA should have gotten Time's Athlete of the Year nod, not just Clark? Well, Barnes isn't having it. But here's the thing, Barnes isn't just throwing shade. He's got some solid points about marketing, fan engagement, and the future of the game. He's asking the real questions. Why isn't the league doing more to promote its biggest star? Why are they letting this opportunity slip through their fingers?
They continue to push the game to the next level, you know, and you look at where the NBA was and now where the NBA is at now. And although everyone doesn't agree with the style of play, these guys have taken it to the next level as far as the business of basketball. Right. And I think that's what Caitlyn will affect, is the business of women's basketball, man. So we wish them the best. Definitely excited to see these upcoming seasons and these women continue to do their thing.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, but isn't this just another guy talking about women's sports? Fair, but stick with me. Barnes is dropping truth bombs left and right. He's not just talking as an ex-player, he's talking as someone who knows the business of sports. Barnes understands the value of promotion, fan engagement, and the need for the WNBA to capitalize on the momentum Clark has created. He's pushing for change, urging the league to...
Congratulations to Caitlyn Clark for being named Time Athlete of the Year. I get why people are so upset. I'm a basketball player and a basketball fan. There's a lot of dynamics and a lot of layers to this thing when it deals with Caitlyn Clark. But I will say that this is just my opinion. It's certain people, I don't care if you're black, white, Spanish, from Europe, it doesn't matter, that have it, that draw something, okay? And Caitlyn is one of those.
Get behind its stars, especially one as impactful as Clark. In the end, this controversy isn't just about Caitlyn Clark's success or the envy that accompanies it. It's a broader conversation about how women's sports are marketed and how their stars are treated. If Clark's rise to fame exposes anything, it's the inequality.
People, keep in mind, this is a business. When Nike signs a athlete, okay, they want to get an ROI, return on their investment. How do they do that? Because that athlete resonates. You understand that Caitlyn Clark, her jerseys, her apparel, if she has an apparel deal, her shoes will sell.
And how talent is recognized and rewarded in women's basketball. With such a monumental opportunity, the real question is whether the WNBA will step up and promote its stars like Clark or continue to let them fade into the background. It's time for the league to decide. Will it embrace its stars or let jealous?
Caitlyn may not be, A'ja Wilson is the best player in the WNBA, but Caitlyn is more marketable because people tend to resonate. I don't care, black, white, whatever it may be. And now there is a race component to it. It always will be in some regards, okay? But the player itself, the person, what she was able to do, how she resonated, how she drew eyes to the TV.
And division hold them back from reaching their full potential, suggesting that the WNBA might be. The WNBA may be sabotaging its own success story, and that's not just.
I don't agree with the Mystics owner saying that the whole WNBA should have been named up, because that's not true. The whole WNBA benefited this year from the viewership increase.
A bold opinion, it's a 5-alarm fire. Matt Barnes, an NBA champion, is accusing the league of shooting itself in the foot by not fully embracing.
It's the reason why Steph Curry, who may not be the best player, okay, in the NBA, but he draws differently. He draws different. He can be marketed differently than other players. And some players who may be considered better, maybe a Kevin Durant. But the market, to market Kevin Durant is a lot different than marketing Steph Curry. People resonate with Steph Curry a lot more than a KD.
Caitlyn Clark and the massive attention she's drawing. But guess what? Barnes isn't the only one speaking up. This conversation is only heating up, with more voices joining the chorus. So, let's dive into what another NBA veteran, Jim Jackson, has to say about the situation.
There's some other players that get deals, men and women, okay, that have signature shoes that, despite how good they are as a player, great as they are as a player, they don't move product because it doesn't resonate, it doesn't translate.
Because if Barnes' comments are any indication, this debate is far from over. Alright, let's talk about Jim Jackson. This former NBA star turned analyst isn't just dipping his toes into the.
What translates is when Caitlyn Clark came into the league and 30,000 jerseys were already ordered. That the Indiana Fever, the season tickets were already sold out. When you go on the road to the Mystics and they have to change the venue in which it's going to be played to play, you know, where the Wizards play, okay, on a couple of occasions. It's only certain people that do that. Whether you like Caitlyn or not, are you interested? If you're a ball player, it's certain aspects you got to love about Caitlyn's game.
Conversation, he's diving headfirst. And when Jackson speaks, you know it's going to be spicy. He's got some strong opinions about Caitlyn Clark and the WNBA, and his main focus? It's all about the green, baby. No, not the court. Jackson is talking cold, hard.
You know well enough that in 1984, when Michael Jordan came into the NBA, the ratings in the NBA were not great. Chicago Stadium was, a third full. He's getting the lion's share of the attention. The games are now getting all of his games are on TV. And he just was a polarizing figure. And Tiger Woods was like that when he went to the PGA as well. He changed the total economics of golf the same way Michael Jordan changed the financial economics of the NBA.
Cash, or as the suits like to call it, marketability. Jackson doesn't mince words here. He says that Clark has that special something, the X factor that makes her stand out. The kind of quality that makes people take notice. Here's where things get interesting. Jackson's comparing Clark to some WNBA legends, and his conclusion is sure to ruffle some feathers. He's boldly saying that Clark is more marketable than A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP of the WNBA. You heard that right. Jackson isn't just throwing out a hot take without support. He's diving into star power, fan engagement, and yes, that tricky topic of race in sports marketing. And Jackson's not shy about it.
Yes, that probably exists. Okay. To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros?
Either. But wait, it gets even more intriguing. Jackson also draws comparisons between Clark and NBA superstar Steph Curry. That's right, he's putting Clark in the same conversation as one of the most marketable players in the world. Jackson points out that it's not just about being the best on the court, it's about connecting with fans off it, too. And Clark? She's connecting in a big way. But Jackson isn't just talking about Clark.
I think with that, there's going to be, it's human nature sometimes to have some envy or some jealousy. And it's happening now to Caitlyn Clark.
He's painting a bigger picture of the future of the WNBA. He points out that the entire league received a boost thanks to Clark's performances in college. In other words, rising tides lift all boats. Jackson isn't just praising Clark, he's advocating for a broader perspective on how to grow the game, with Clark serving as a central figure in that effort. Now you might be wondering, is this really about basketball anymore? Good question.
She's doing rating-wise for the WNBA what Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry have been doing for the NBA.
According to Jackson, it's not just about how you play the game, it's about how you sell it. And Caitlyn Clark? She's selling like hotcakes. But now, let's turn the spotlight back to the WNBA itself. What's the league saying about all of this? Well, here's where things get even more interesting and a bit strange. Despite the uproar surrounding Caitlyn Clark's Time Athlete of the Year award, the WNBA has remained suspiciously quiet. Weird, right? Imagine this, you've got a rookie phenom breaking records, bringing in fans by the truckload, and making headlines across the country. Sounds like a marketer's dream, right? You'd think the